In the heart of South Central LA, where palm trees cast shadows over cracked sidewalks and the air buzzes with tension, a baby was born, right in the middle of Baldwin Village, a place locals call the Jungles. His name was Dante Kennebrew.
What's up, it's your boy Stevie83, and we're back with another react. You know what I'm saying? Today, we are reacting to a 17-year-old young man. He caught so many bodies that the people he was going against celebrated when they caught him. When they finally caught up to him and dropped him, the whole hood celebrated. Let's get into it, man. These people crazy.
But the streets would come to know him as something far more chilling,
Right?
nightmare. Raised in a neighborhood where gunshots were more
Infant
common
nightmare.
than goodnight lullabies, Dante wasn't a kid who got to dream. While most teenagers were worried about grades or girlfriends, Dante was catching bodies before he could legally drive.
What?
And each body he dropped earned him another stripe, another whispered warning attached to his name. But in the world he lived in, rising fast meant dying faster. By the time he was 19, his name rang out through the blocks, from Baldwin Village to Vermont Slauson, not for what he built, but for how much blood he spilled. And when that final bullet caught him slipping, the ones who hated him didn't mourn. They partied. This is the story of Dante Kennebrew, aka the Infant Nightmare.
Woo!
In 98,
Woo! That name right there just puts it in, you know it? That name right there put fear in a boy.
Central LA, Baldwin Village, aka the Jungles,
The jungle.
a new soul into its chaotic world, Dante Kennebrew. His birth wasn't some peaceful, picture-perfect moment. It was more like a warning shot, signaling that life for this baby boy was about to be anything but easy. Now,
That's sad, man.
people who
That's
only
sad.
heard about the Jungles from that Oscar-winning flick Training Day, the place might sound like a war zone, but to the ones who actually lived there, it was home. It got the nickname the Jungle because the neighborhood was full of tropical trees, palms, banana plants, begonias, all apartment buildings from the post-war era. Places with names like Coco Capri and the Islander, complete with swimming pools and courtyards filled with birds of paradise. From the balconies, you could catch views of the Santa Monica Mountains.
Damn, man, that's a nice
White
view.
dome of Griffith Observatory shining like a crown. It was beautiful on the outside. Back in the 60s, Baldwin Village was mixed. Japanese and black families mostly. There was still some peace then. Teenagers weren't pressed to claim colors or rep blocks, but the vibe started shifting after the Watts riots. White people left, property values dropped, and that little alley between the apartments turned into Sherm Alley.
That's what the cops laying up there on the
PCP
roof.
flowed heavy. Crack followed right behind, and that's when the community started spiraling. The buildings that once held working class families turned into subsidized housing. Immigrant Latino families moved in, and at the same time, young black professionals were sliding in too, drawn by cheap rent and big apartments. It wasn't all gloom. There were epic parties, the kind where people floated from apartment to apartment like it was one giant house party. But
Now, if you were living out there at this time and age, would you have moved from there when they started tearing it down, or would you have stayed? Let me know in the comments.
above all that fun, there was always the sound of the ghetto birds, helicopters slicing through the sky, beaming light down like they were hunting someone. They
How many of you guys knew what a ghetto bird was?
flew low, real low, like they were trying to snatch the whole block out of the sheets. By the early 80s, things got tense. You'd see groups of young dudes posted up on hoods, blocking sidewalks, leaning off balconies like sentinels. And the violence, man, it was nonstop. Every week came with news. Someone got shot, someone got jumped. Bullet holes in trees, in concrete, even in living room walls. People downstairs from you might start shooting at each other over nothing, just pure madness. And the money, barely there. The average household scraped by on $36,500, and nearly a third of families were living below the poverty line.
Wow,
And
$36,000 a year.
or not, they weren't
That don't cut it in today's world. $36,000 a year. That is nowhere close to what you need.
going nowhere. In 1990, the city tried to clean up the image, renamed it Baldwin Village, hoping people would start linking it with the more upscale Baldwin Hills right next door. But the new name couldn't erase the reality on the ground. Two major gangs ran the block, the Black P Stones and 18th Street, Black and Latino, rivals since forever. Cops blamed them for a long list of shootings and robberies. And while residents mostly agreed the violence was gang-related, many believed it was also fueling deep racial tension between the two communities. This was the world Dante was born into. These streets taught him how to walk, how to talk, how to watch his back.
Now this young man looks like he could have been a very good individual as far as respectful young man. Could have got him a little job when he got 15, 16. You know, could have been probably a good ball player, probably fast. But soon as he gets out on the streets and he don't have a man to be in the household letting him know, hey, them boys are only using you. Hey, this guy's only playing you. Hey, them guys are about to shoot at you. Some kind of male figure, someone in there that you could look up to actually, but they don't have anybody. As soon as they go outside, they see big homies on the corner. They see the little jits running around, having fun, not going to school, money in their pocket, new kicks on. They see that, they're going to flock right to it. And then even your dad might be a gangbanger. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. He got no future ahead of him because of his environment.
Time he hit 13, he wasn't thinking about high school or after school programs.
Not at all.
Nah, his eyes were already locked on something else. He joined the Black P Stones, chasing a sense of power and survival in a world that never handed him either. Now, the Black P Stones, or BPS, have been known in the streets for a minute. Deep-rooted, active, and black-lit, they call the east side of South Central LA home. Back in the day, people said there were around 700 of them in total, and nearly 400 stacked heavy in one spot, Baldwin Village. That's where they built the name, where the streets started whispering about them. The movement kicked off with a man known as OGT Rogers. He wasn't just some random. He came out of Chicago once repping the Blackstone Rangers and brought that fire to LA in the late 60s. Now the Black P Stones split into two main cliques. On one side, you got the city Stone Bloods. People in the know might call them the Bitey. They post up in the mid-city Arlington Heights area. On the other, you got the Jungle Stone Bloods holding it down in Baldwin Village. Before all the splitting and cliques, the City Stones used to be known as the 21st Street Black P Stones. That was back when they moved as one big unit, no breakups. Today, you'll still find the Bitey in the West Adams and Mid-City, part of South Central, in the stretch between Washington and Adams Boulevards, from Crenshaw to Arlington. That big Santa Monica freeway, it cuts their neighborhood right down the middle. Inside those
dang, that just got the interstate running right through the hood.
21st, 25th, 27th, and 29th Streets. Each one got its own rep. Even though they ride with the Rolling 20 Bloods in that area, their real bond is with the Jungle Stones over in Baldwin Village. See,
Jungle Stones.
Jungle Stones were born when the City Stones linked up with another crew, the Jungle Boys. This went down in the early 70s, and just like that, the Jungle Boys became the Jungle Stones. That's how the Black P Stones took root in a second neighborhood. The Jungle Stones didn't do all that clique dividing stuff like the Bitey. If you came from that part of Baldwin Village, you were simply a Jungle Stone. No extra label needed. Their territory is locked in the Crenshaw area, right there in Baldwin Village. Those apartments tucked behind the Crenshaw Mall. Between Crenshaw and La Brea, that whole pocket, that's what they call the jungles.
Woo! That's a big area, man. You might have to walk through that bitch, go to the store.
All of Baldwin Village, and the numbers reflect that. Over 1,000 active members in LA alone, and they say 40,000 plus nationwide.
Woo!
Ain't just
that's a big number.
The BPS name has been all in headlines. Murder charges, robberies, gunplay, substance operations, you name it. The LAPD and FBI have been watching closely for years. So imagine being a young boy like Dante, growing up and all that. In that world, you got two options: join up or get preyed on. And being a target
You ain't lying.
ain't just risky, it's life or death. That's like stepping outside every day with a target on your chest.
He got that True Religion duffel bag.
Just waiting for somebody to
He got the Ricky.
Dante knew the streets didn't offer mercy. So one day, he made his choice. He picked up that Glock, and from
Woo, that's a big pretty
his
motherfucker.
path was
Dude.
set. There weren't any rewinds in that kind of life. Words
Oh, that
started
bit
moving through the
phony.
block like wildfire. Whispers about this young dude, barely in his teens, but already catching bodies and catching fear. They were calling him Infant Nightmare. Yeah, that's the name.
He looked like one.
While most kids his age were busy texting their little crush or begging for a new pair of sneakers, Dante was out here making grown men double check who was walking behind them at night. But real talk, how does a baby-faced 13-year-old end up with a name like Infant Nightmare?
With that big 45?
Stepping to older gang members like he'd been born into the war. No hesitation, just all business. And in a world where fear is currency, that kind of coldness, that'll turn a nobody into a legend real quick. By 14, Dante wasn't just some tag-along watching from the curb anymore. He was moving different. The older heads in the Black Pea Stones started watching him closely, like somebody they might actually want to pass the torch to one day. And Dante, he didn't talk much. He just soaked it all in, getting himself right for his time to lead. But here's where it gets heavy. This wasn't no underdog story with a happy ending waiting at the finish line. What was happening to Dante wasn't growth. It was a slow walk toward a grave. Every step up the ladder in the gang came with a price, and he was paying in advance, even if he didn't know it. And by the time Dante hit 15, he wasn't just active. He was a storm ripping through South Central. Word on the streets was he wasn't just pressing the usual soldiers. Nah, he was sliding on OGs, the kind of cats who'd been holding down blocks since the crack era. And Dante, he wasn't out here chasing stripes or clout. To him, this was about loyalty. He was ready to die behind that rag, no hesitation. But when you start climbing like that, everybody starts reaching for your ankles.
When your ass gets older and you don't want to carry that flag no more, then that's when you got some trouble.
The higher he rose, the more heads turned. Every hit he made on the rolling 40s, that wasn't just another check mark. It was a new enemy added to the list. And the more that list grew, the more sets got pulled in.
And the more bodies dropped.
The mix, the 18th Street Gang. To understand how deep that
18th Street Pyro.
To rewind the clock to the early 60s.
True mayonnaise.
The Rampart District in LA. That's when 18th Street first popped off. Right around 18th and Union.
They got that true mayonnaise.
Pico Union. It started when another gang, Clanton Street, only allowed full-blooded Mexicans in.
Oh my.
Kids who didn't fit that mold. Mixed race, Central American, even a few black kids.
That's crazy.
Formed their own thing. That's how Barrio 18 came to life. Over time, they didn't just stick to one block. They spread across the city, setting up shop in neighborhoods like East Side, South Side, North Side, and West Side LA, each one with their cliques. Crews like King Boulevard G's, Columbia Little Psychos, Shadow Park Locos, Bobitos, and dozens more.
Where these dumb names from?
Like its own small army, but they all waved the same flag. At first, they mostly recruited from Mexican immigrant communities, but as LA changed, so did the gang. Salvadorans, Hondurans, Guatemalans, they all found a home under that Barrio
all of them
umbrella.
Come on over, we got a place for you.
Gang to expand outside
18th Street,
especially after the immigration crackdowns in the 90s. A lot of members got deported, and instead of fading out, they rebuilt down in Central America.
Hell yeah, rebrand that shit.
Turned into a pipeline. Now they're deep in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, running extortion rackets, moving dope, and still keeping ties with their LA cliques. Even behind bars,
damn,
big dogs like Puppet, who ran things from inside, kept the gears turning. And while they aren't the biggest fish in Mexico, they've made enough noise to link with cartels like the Zetas or Sinaloa when it helps their hustle.
Oh, choppy.
Still, they're more survivalists than strategists. Less kingpin, more street general. Their bread and butter stays the same. Drugs, hits for hire, shaking people down, and running their blocks like war zones. And joining, that came with pain. Either take an 18-second beatdown or catch a body, no exceptions. For women, it was even grimier. Get jumped in, get passed around, or earn it by proximity. But make no mistake, 18th Street isn't just some loose crew.
Be run through the hood, so that's how the initiation for a woman gangster is? They gotta run through you? Nah, that ain't it for me.
The Mexican mafia, especially in Cali. That alliance gave them structure and protection inside prison walls and out on the streets. And while law enforcement says they didn't have hard proof or international drug trafficking, everybody on the ground knows.
Dang, look at them blues.
Meth, heroin, crack, weed, you name it. Hell, the feds even say they've got members in the military flipping uniforms into opportunities. Combat training, weapons, transportation, anything they could turn into an edge, they did. But for all that power, they still got enemies on every corner. Florencia 13.
That one guy didn't look like he was happy in that picture.
Especially ones like Black Peace Stones. The streets were already lit with rivalries, and now Dante had just added fuel to an old fire. By putting 18th Street in his sights.
As soon as people understand that your words got power behind them, then we'll be better off as a people as a whole.
He didn't just expand the war, he kicked the hornet's nest. Even the vets, the OGs who'd seen everything, started looking at Dante different. The kid was living up to his name. Infant Nightmare.
Infant Nightmare.
People said it was something they felt. But with all the bodies, the heat, the enemies, one question was hanging heavy over the hood. How long could he really keep this going? In a world where today's kingpin can be tomorrow's memory.
I'd say make it a week.
Out here playing with fire and no plan B in sight. No backup, no exit strategy. Just pure heat and ambition pushing him forward. And if you think you've heard every wild story to come out of South Central,
check for volume 2, because that's the end of it for today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be out. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace!